is my very last garden tour in this house. My husband is in the Air Force and he is expecting a posting message in a couple of months, which means we'll probably have to sell the house in the spring and be gone probably by June. We have no idea where we're going. He has 3 choices. 2 are in Canada and 1 is in America. And we won't know where we're going until he actually receives the posting message. Then what will happen is we'll have to sell the house. It's going to be bittersweet, but we're very excited and we're really looking forward to a new adventure, a new move, a new garden, a new house to renovate, and we really want to take you along for all of it. So let's get outside, and I want to show you as an amateur gardener, and when I say amateur, I never owned a houseplant before my garden. So I want to show you what I've been up to for the last 5 years. Okay, you know what? Let's go out front and we'll start there. There, that's much better. So I wanted to keep the front of the house really simple. When we first moved in, there was a rotten old staircase, and my husband tore it out and he built those stairs himself. So I'm proud of him. And we actually just replaced the mailbox as well. That was old and looked really bad for quite a few years. I don't know why we didn't do it before. The mailbox was broken and everything. And then there was no garden bed here at all. It was just the grass. So I put in this kidney bean shaped garden bed, and every year I try something a little bit different. The first year that I put in 3 hydrangeas, Invincible Spirit 2. Those hydrangeas got eaten back by deer quite a bit, and I really didn't get to appreciate them at all. I did want the hydrangeas to have some companions with annual planting, and I thought that every year I would do something with annuals, something a little different, just to kind of spice it up for my neighbors to say, what's she doing this year? But every year I struggled, and I really struggled the most when the deer ate the garden. This year is actually the very first year that I've ever tried Super Tunia bubblegums, and I know these look enormous and really tall, but I've actually got them in a pot. You can kind of see the pot there. These were in my backyard, and I moved them to the front this year because at the beginning of the year I had planted a whole bunch of glads, and they were in all of the space where the bubblegums are. And they got eaten by thrips so badly that when the blooms emerged, they actually the buds looked dead as they were starting to bloom. If you don't know what thrips are, that is thrips. And then your buds look like this. It was really bad. And I watch all the garden channels too on YouTube, so I really had hope for what a Super Tunia would do in the ground, if you know what I mean. And this, by far, has performed really well. It's really, really big. I would say this is almost 2.5 feet wide. I know it probably doesn't translate on camera that way, but prolific bloomer. It did do a really good job. When I did the first haircut on my Super Tunia bubblegum, I took a couple clippings and I just put them in the ground, and they actually took. So that's what I got out of this. This is actually 3 little cuttings right here. So if I were to take the pots away, you definitely see some really big gaps, and it still looked okay, but I had the pots in the back. I've been watering out here every single day anyway, so I thought, why not put them there and just fill up some space? The grass is a result of the drought that we've had all season. It stopped raining here in June. And we have a wildfire actually burning about 20 kilometers away from my house right now. Today the wind is really good, but most days it's so windy and the smoke blows this way that I can't come outside. I knew when I planted this, it's a Holy Grail hibiscus by Proven Winners, that I wanted something that was really big and showy that you could see from the road. I know you probably can't tell how big that bloom is, but it's about the size of a dinner plate. It's amazing. And I waited for this as I do every year, I wait for it to bloom all season long. I won't cut this back this winter. I'll leave the dead sticks on after all the foliage and blooms are gone, and I'll put Christmas lights on it. And then in the spring, that's when I'll cut back the dead sticks. It does like to have a lot of water. So honestly, I water this thing every single day, probably, I give it maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches of water a day. And the first year that I got it, it was just a tiny little nothing. It was so insignificant. And then when they say first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap, this is true to that saying. If I ever get the opportunity again to buy another Holy Grail hibiscus by Proven Winners, I absolutely 100% will. And I will definitely make sure I plant it in a wet area, because I'm pretty sure it's called a water bog plant and it really loves wet feet. I know it's a garden tour, but I just wanted to address the flagstones that we have here. We got a lot of these from a local guy who he charged us only $30 for them. And then we had to go into Halifax and get the rest from a store. I can't remember what it was called. But they've actually turned out really good. We were going to put in a sidewalk here because the old staircase just kind of, it went up sideways this way into the house and it was all rotten. And the stones that were here were actually, I'll show you. They're over here. So they didn't have the other white stone in the middle, but it was just a plain walkway like that, and we repurposed them right here. First year or two, I think we only had mulch here, and that worked really good as a walkway, but I just wanted to add a little bit more character here. Would I ever do something like this in the future? Yeah, absolutely. I think I would. I would put it in my garden as opposed to maybe the front of my house. Last year, I tried cannas in the ground, but I had never tried them in pots before. So I thought they'd look nice flanking the staircase this year. And they do. They turned out really great. They've been covered in bees all summer, and they've been putting off bloomstalk after bloomstalk. So I'm definitely going to try these again in the future. And this lobelia, it looks amazing. I love it. When we were going through a heat wave after heat wave, it suffered the most. From what I understand, lobelia likes wet feet, and so do cannas. So I just kept watering and watering and watering. The Supertunia bubblegums have not disappointed me. They're starting to go out because, well, fall is coming. And I don't like a little bit of the separation that they get here, but I didn't give these guys a haircut at all this summer. I just let them do their thing, and they're amazing. And I never have any pest issues with any of my petunias, so these are definitely, I gotta do over and over and over again. And you can see from a good distance away, they just look like puffballs of pink. I love them, they're great. This tree is a great big Norway maple, and it does not bloom red, I'm sad to admit. And it's just really weird for us not to have lush green grass. It is normally so rainy here. I do compare living here in Nova Scotia to living on Vancouver Island or in the Vancouver area. There's just always rain. And then in the winter, we have some pretty mild winters here, but we do get the occasional heavy bits of snow. Not like the other side of Nova Scotia though. They get hammered with snow and sometimes have been snowed in. We had heat wave after heat wave, blue sunny skies all summer long, and the temperatures were in the 30s most of the summer. We had rain once in July. It's raining. Even though we had heat wave after heat wave and drought conditions all summer long, my garden still gave me a ton of joy. In the spring, when this iris wall exploded with beautiful irises, it was a pleasure to come out and take pictures and videos and just love the blooms that it put off. I absolutely loved it. I knew when the irises went yellow and it was time to cut them back that it would all be barren here. So I planted portulaca. And last year, it did fantastic. But this year, it just suffered. And I really thought that it liked dry, hot conditions. But the drought, it didn't. It didn't. The lupins also gave me a lot of joy this year. This one, I've actually cut back a couple of times. It was enormous. I was so pleased with it. And the blooms that came off of it were so pretty. But it started to shade the hydrangea here, and I've got 3 of them. These are 3 macrophylla hydrangeas, and it did stunt the growth of the first one there. But once the lupins were all bloomed out, I just cut it down, and then it started growing back again. It didn't grow enough to bloom again, but the foliage was there, so I think it can help contribute to the roots. This lobelia suffered all summer long. It did not like the heat wave, and it did not like drought, and I could not keep up with the watering. It was tough. Now that the temperatures are in the 20s, it's starting to bounce back, and it's really putting on a really good show. Last year, I took a bunch of lemon coral sedum, and I just took clippings like this, and I put them in the ground like this. And there was a nice blanket of lemon coral sedum here. Well, I tried that this year, and it did not work. Again, I'm going to blame the conditions. I've got something going on with this particular hydrangea. I don't know what is going on, but you can see that parts of it have already died back, and the leaves are turning green, are like it kind of looks, I don't know, what is that? Why is it green like that? Is that a chlorosis issue? I don't know. But I did have something that was burrowing itself underneath my hydrangeas. And you can see, well, maybe you can't see, there was a great big mound of dirt there, and there was great big holes underneath there I could fill up with water. So maybe something was going under there and eating the roots. This was my very first attempt at a garden bed, and I think I put it in 2022, and I got that Annabelle hydrangea as a bunch of roots from a lady who decided to help me out with my garden and just wanted to gift me something, and it's turned into this beautiful show of blooms every season. And it's another one of those sleep, creep, leap ones, but it does flop in the rain. Now, I've only gotten rain once this year, so it only flopped one time. I love to cut the blooms and bring them in the house, and I also love to dry them. Down here I've got some lemon, what is this? Sweet potato vine. And it's in pots, so that's why it looks like it's got some height there. And then geraniums below. And I also have a whole bunch of irises in here that I cut back. They put on a really good show in the spring too. But once they're gone, what do? You've got space, so I decided to put some geraniums there that I got on clearance at the end of the season from one of my local growers. I've already started cleaning out this garden bed, and in here I've got some Japanese bloodgrass, and I really thought the Dusty Miller would put on more size than it did, and some petunias. Japanese bloodgrass is perennial, comes back every single year, and so do these heucheras. And this heuchera is so pretty, I love it. Look at the leaf on it. It's just amazing. And it stays like that all winter. I had a drift of gladioli and lilies in here. And, well, the lilies, you can see, this one actually just bloomed the other day. It was a late one. But it got eaten back by some kind of red beetle. And then the gladioli, they got eaten back by thrips and just destroyed. So I've come in, and you can see I've cut everything out of here. And this is a rogue iris and a daylily together that I don't remember planting there, but who knows what I did. I probably did. How else would I have gotten there? I really was hoping that cosmos and zinnias would take up a lot of the space in this bed. Look at this guy loving his life. But they didn't get very big. Well, they got tall, but they didn't get very bushy. And I did cut them back. But because you can see, like I cut, where can you see? See, I cut that one back, so it gave me 2. But I don't know, nothing got bushy. This grass-like stuff was hot red pokers. And oh, they look so good too when they bloomed. I'm really pleased with hot red pokers. I'll definitely plant them again. My sweet potato vine in the ground suffered all over the garden, and it didn't get very big at all. A lot of things didn't get very big at all. And you can see I splatted some lemon coral sedum all over the garden, and it just didn't perform either. Probably has something to do with the fact that this garden has no drip line in it, and it's on sandy soil, and I couldn't keep up with the watering because it was so hot and so dry. This is an aster that's just getting ready to bloom. It'll probably bloom here in the next few weeks. I can't wait to see it because it's loaded up with blooms and it looks really pretty. This is lavender that I just cut back. And you can see the one big bush is a bunch of tiny little bushes all together. I probably should have did that with those other two on the end. Just kind of bunched them all together like a nice big bush. But I didn't know what I was doing. Plain and simple. This is salvia. That is it. That's all the salvia bloom I got out of this. Sad. This sumac was brought in by a bird, and I love it. It turns fiery red in the fall, and the one that's beside it, the smaller one, that came in this year. That's how much growth it put on since the spring. There was nothing there. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, well, let's give this thing a chance. It has been putting out suckers all over the ground, and I've been tearing them out. I know that they can be invasive, but I love it. I think it looks tropical looking, and it's really pretty. Below it, I've got a couple of macrophylla hydrangeas. They did really good this year too. Now the deer ate them back on me last year, so I didn't get to see them bloom. So I was really pleased when they came out blue. I'm gonna go on the other side here. So all of these are, well, they're white now, but they were blue. Let me get my shadow out of there for you. They were glorious. This was like definitely a happy spot for me to land every morning and come and see what it was doing. I'm trying that little trick where you put a rock on the stem to see if it's gonna propagate. On this side, look at this Dusty Miller. That has not grown since I put it in the ground back in June. And these guys hardly grew at all. And this is, this is blueberries. I see I've got a couple on there, but that's it. And this is a mum that's getting ready to bloom too. I did cut that back at the beginning of July. Now, these mums I buy every year for my fall planters, and I put them in the front of the house where the Super Tuner bubblegums are. And once they're done, I take them out of the pots and I put them in the landscape like this one, and it comes back every year. Somebody told me just to throw it away, but I was like, well, let's see what happens. And look, it's coming back. Below it, this is dianthus. Dianthus. And look, it did not grow at all season long. Like, I don't know if this is going to come back. And it said it was annual, so I'm not expecting it to come back. But it didn't grow. Like, what did I do wrong? And this is a peony bush. And this is literally another peony I had actually over by my deck over there. I just took pieces of it and I moved it here a couple of summers ago, and it's just been multiplying. It had a lot of really nice blooms on it. And this is a strawberry patch which I find very strange, did not put out any runners this year. No runners from a strawberry? Unheard of. Where is it? I don't know. I am a new gardener, so maybe that's like, maybe they do it one year and not the other. I don't know. This grass is a miscanthus, zebra grass. I love it. I'm pretty pleased with how much it's grown, how big it got over the years. And I had every intention on splitting it this year, and I didn't, and I should have, because I could take a clump of it and I could probably break it in half and put some somewhere else over here for height. When we first moved in, we had every intention on putting a gate right here where that eaves trough spout is, and a fence. So our property line goes to, if you can see the line in the grass, it goes straight beyond to basically the edge of the tree. Part of the bush is ours. So that's basically our property line. So we were going to put in a fence right there. Year one, that was the idea. Year two, it was still the idea and the hope and dream, but we were working on renovating the house. So I put in the garden bed thinking one day I'm going to have a fence backing this here. So I didn't really focus on the interest this way until last year when we realized, well, actually it was year three and my husband got notice at work that maybe he was going to get posted out early to Comox, BC, and then it didn't happen. So it kind of stalled a lot of my garden projects because I was like, well, we're probably getting posted in 2024. Maybe I won't do anything. I won't put any more effort in. I just want perennials back here. And then you kind of get into this rut, you know what I mean? Where you're like, well, why should I do this when I know we're moving? But I love it so much. I just can't stop. I'm just totally addicted to gardening. This is mint, and my neighbor gave me a small little pot of mint, and I didn't know it was a perennial the first year she gave it to me, and that was in 2020, and I threw it away back here, and look at it now. So it took 5 years for it to get that bushy, and I've been cutting on it. This year I noticed that the leaves were so much smaller, and it must be because of the drought. This hydrangea is my saddest hydrangea this year. I've never seen it go so yellow, and I'm going to blame the drought on that too. This is its third or fourth year in the ground, and normally it does really well here. I got it off of that other plant over there, but yeah, poor thing, it's sad looking. Oh, over here I wanted to show you that these are cone flowers, and I started them from seed right here in the ground, and that's as big as they got their first year. Now, I'm so naive and new to gardening that I was like expecting blooms off of these this year. I guess I wasn't supposed to have that high expectation, but is that normal? I don't know. And then in here is a mess of daylilies, as you can see. I'm just going to leave them like that all winter and not worry about them until spring. These irises I have not watered once this year, and they're still green and doing great. The other ones I had at the side of the house, they were so yellow and they looked awful, so I had to cut them down. So this garden was my first attempt, and I've learned a lot from it. This is my Hakuru Nishiki. It's a Japanese willow, and it got really, really big this year, and I gave it a good haircut. It's got pink and green variegated leaves. It's so beautiful. In the spring, it puts on tons of growth. You can do whatever you want to this thing. You can trade it into a bush. You can trade it into like a tree. And because it's a willow, it needs lots and lots of water. But it survived the drought no problem. And it's even got new growth. So my husband and I built this shed together a couple of years ago, and it's just a shed for all the garden stuff and my pots and the lawnmower and stuff. It's nothing fancy for a greenhouse or anything like that. Boo. And then this was an afterthought. So when we first moved in here, the grass wouldn't grow here, and I have a sneaky suspicion it's because of these trees. We had 2 plum trees that were here, and they were dead, and they were full of scale, and the plums that were coming off of them looked horrendous. So I decided, well, since the grass doesn't grow here, I would rather see mulch here and just make it look like a garden bed than anything at all. But then I got a little out of hand, and I was like, I need to fill this garden bed up. Things need to touch, and I really wanted to make it look lush and full. So I started with anchors, which are my hydrangeas that are doing terribly because of the drought. So there's one there, And there's one, look at all the bees on my zinnias. There's one here. So you can kind of tell what I was going for because I really like hydrangeas. Those are the main perennials that are in this bed. And then behind it, my neighbor was cutting out this burning bush. And he cut it down to nothing. It was huge. It must have been 8 feet tall. And now look at it. It's beautiful. He asked me if I wanted it now. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So realistically, I don't know what my intentions were with this bed other than the hydrangeas. You know, once all the annuals are gone out of here, it's going to look pretty empty. But that could be a good thing because I know when homeowners come to buy, they might think, oh, this garden looks like too much work, but it's not really. Just have a bunch of repeat stuff in here. These geraniums do really good every year, and they bloom, and then I cut them back and they bloom again. And then here's another mum that I just stuck in the ground here. All of these cannas, I had a whole bunch of them. Somebody gave me, I helped someone tear out her deck one year, and she gave me some cannas as a thank you. And they did really good in the ground, but they're reaching for the sky. You can see they're reaching for the sun. And I don't care that they don't bloom. I just really like the leaves. But again, drought. Cannas like water. They didn't like it. I tried lemon coral sedum and wave petunias in here, and nothing did good. Look at this bee. He looks like he's like hugging the plant or the flower. Look at him. Look how big he is. Even though the zinnias didn't really get too bushy, I'm still loving the pink blooms that they have, and they're still giving me joy when I see them. I'm like, oh my God, I love them so much. Look at that one. Pretty. But all the Dusty Millers didn't get very big. The wave petunias didn't get very big. The sweet potato vine didn't get very big. Nothing. And I got lots of repeat stuff in here. A lot of lupins, a lot of irises, the hardy geranium. I even tried, well, I don't know why I bothered this year to put in new perennials, but I bought a couple of hollyhocks. There's one here, and there's one over there with the yellow leaves, and they didn't perform at all. They didn't even bloom. But I did try a tomato. I was like, I'm going to put in indeterminate tomatoes, and they're going to get huge and bushy, and that'll fill up some of the space. Well, even that didn't work. These are a morning glory called, well, they're actually a dwarf morning glory. I saw the seed packet and bought them and never tried them before and threw them in the ground. They did great this year. None of this will be here. We have every intention on burning the wood pile over the winter, provided that we have, provided we're allowed to, because there's a wildfire going on right now. But that hopefully will be lifted in October. And yeah, so you can see I've got tomatoes scattered throughout. I've got cosmos scattered throughout. Even my cosmos didn't really bush up that much. And this is morning glory and sweet peas. And the sweet peas did nothing. And the morning glories are gorgeous. They're putting on their blooms. Look how pretty that is. I've got some rhubarb back there that comes back every year, but it suffered very quickly in the drought. So over here I've got cosmos that I thought would be bushier, but they just look tall and lanky. And then I've got a bunch of hostas that I put in, and this is a yew tree or a yew bush that got eaten back by deer, and it got eaten back to sticks. And look at it now, it's doing great. So I just removed it from the deer's view. So in here I've got a rhododendron, and these are impatiens. And look, more Dusty Miller that I tried. Like, these have been in the ground since June. It's frustrating. And this is a rhododendron. It likes the shade more than it likes the sun. It was at my neighbor's house in full-blown sun and it was yellow. And then these are vinca. This is the only vinca. I had them all over the garden that really did well this year. The rest of them stayed tiny like that. More sweet potato vine, hostas, ferns. The ferns look crispy. Look at this. Oh, there's a great big spider web. Maple. Check this maple out. Look at that disease on there. So this happens to all the maples around Nova Scotia every fall. Those big ones up there, they're all covered in it. So you can see I've got some more cosmos here and more of a sweet potato, what is that? Morning glory. Look at that, isn't that pretty? And then geraniums, sun patience. I'll always do sun patience again. The lemon coral sedum filled in this area really well. I'm really happy with it. And in my pots, I've got an annual hibiscus, and this is another bubblegum. It actually was hanging up in front of my window there, and it fell, and a lot of it broke, so I gave it a haircut. And I don't think it's gonna, well, actually it does look pretty decent. I think it's gonna bloom again. And then all my bubblegums will probably bloom right up until October. And then just more, these are like just regular petunias, which I'll never ever grow ever again. With some juncus grass, dahlias, calibrachoa, everything's on its way out, and a rosemary. And then this little guy, oh, sorry, with his lemon coral sedum. I don't know what I might take that out of the pot, put it in the ground, because a lot of my lemon coral sedum actually came back again from last year. And I don't want to harbor any pests in my house. So I'll probably just put it in the ground, maybe take a couple clippings and put it back in there. This phlox just continues to impress me every year. I bought it in really small containers at Canadian Tire and it did great over the last couple of years. I've actually moved it around the garden a little bit. So you can see where I had in the spaces is where I had gladioli. And yeah, these buds didn't have a chance. This is how they emerged, because of thrips. I did not get to enjoy beautiful gladioli blooms. I'm really eager to get into a new place and start over again, but I'm curious as to whether or not I should take some plants with me. But I don't want, if I have an infestation of thrips, I don't want to take them to my new place. You know what I mean? These are just some geraniums. And this is a lantana. And over here I did some lemon coral sedum and some portulaca mixed together because I wanted to have some pretty blooms with it. I love the portulaca. I'll do that every year. And some gonias with creeping jenny, which I'll put back into the ground, and it can stay in the ground over the winter and it'll come back next year. And then coleus. And over here I've just got, can you tell? I have an affinity for lemon coral sedum. Yeah. I grew a couple of ferns this year. I've never grown ferns before, and this oxalis. So I'm gonna repot them up. I'm gonna put them in some nice clean soil, bring them in the house for the winter. That's it. This is my view, my garden. My husband and I built that fence together. We did that actually at the beginning of this season. The fire pit. I guess I should acknowledge that. So the hydrangeas that you see on the front of the corners, those were my hydrangeas that were in the front yard that the deer ate. So I thought, well, I'm going to put them in the backyard and I'm going to fix you, deer. And now they can't get to them. Well, they could obviously get to them because it's wide open back here. But I put a speaker on my deck every single night and they think somebody's sitting out having a chat and they don't come in my yard at all. I totally got this deer thing all figured out. These stumps were actually from a couple of trees that we cut down right there. There was 2 more of those guys and they were right behind the shed and they were dead. And when we had a hurricane, we were worried. So we cut them down and we kept these two stumps, and that is actually some of the wood from it over there. And we put in this fire pit, and we had the idea that we're going to get, the stones to put around the fire pit. But then we started having fires without the stones. And we were like, well, what do you need to have the stones for? I guess just for aesthetics, but we could get a pretty roaring fire going on out here. So we decided we didn't need them. I guess if somebody in the future wanted to put them in, they could. Gardening for the last 5 years has been so therapeutic for me, and I fell in love with it. I never owned a houseplant before 2020. All my plants were fake. And I just didn't have any interest in it. And once we bought our very first home and we started going through the renovation process, that renovation included the yard. And I wanted it to look nice, but I never realized how it would make me feel just walking the garden and just honestly farting around in the garden and deadheading and just maintaining it and making it look nice. I never anticipated how it was going to make me feel. Going forward, I definitely know that I want to continue, and I'm really eager, so excited for our upcoming move. I hope you stick around and you follow us to see what's going to happen, because I know if we buy a house, we're doing another renovation, and this time I'm going to film it all and put it on YouTube. So you know what they say, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.